Capricorn. Something is building in the silence. You may not hear it yet, you may not see it yet, but before August 16th ends, you may realize that your life is already changing, quietly, steadily, and in a direction you didn't fully choose, yet somehow already recognize. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to share may explain a feeling you haven't been able to put into words. The moon is gaining power. Emotions are rising closer to the surface than they have in weeks, and underneath all of it, a hidden shift is moving toward you, one that has been forming for longer than you realize. If you're a Capricorn, I want you to pay close attention today. Not because something dramatic is guaranteed to happen in the next 24 hours. The universe rarely works that fast, and rarely that obviously. But because what happens internally right now may quietly determine the direction of your next chapter. You are one of the most disciplined signs in the zodiac. You plan, you prepare, you carry weight that other people never see, and you rarely ask for help carrying it. But even the most grounded person feels the ground shift sometimes, and that is exactly what's happening now. So take a breath, let your shoulders drop for a moment, and let's walk through this together, section by section, because by the end you may understand something about yourself that you've been circling around for a long time. The energy around you is changing, Capricorn. There are moments when life changes before you can actually see the change. Nothing looks dramatically different on the outside. Your routine may look the same, your schedule may look the same, the people around you may look the same. And yet, somehow, you feel that something is no longer the same underneath it all. August 16th carries that kind of energy. The moon is building toward greater illumination, and symbolically, this represents something inside you becoming impossible to ignore. Think of it like a photograph slowly developing in a dark room. At first there's nothing, just blank paper and chemical stillness. Then, gradually, an image begins to appear. Faint at first, then unmistakable. That is what's happening inside you right now. You may notice yourself thinking differently. Conversations that used to hold your attention may start to feel repetitive, even hollow. You may suddenly lose interest in things that once consumed your energy. A project you were forcing, a routine you were tolerating, a version of fine that never actually felt fine. You may feel less willing to chase people, situations, or opportunities that constantly leave you questioning your worth. Not because you've become cold, not because you've given up, but because something in you is beginning to recognize the difference between what deserves your energy and what has simply been consuming it out of habit. This is not necessarily loss, Capricorn. Sometimes it is alignment. Your energy is becoming more selective. And selective energy is not the same as closed-off energy. It's the energy of someone who finally understands their own value. Think about a garden that's been left to grow wild for too long. At some point, the gardener has to walk through it and decide what stays and what gets pruned back. Not out of cruelty, but because the plants that matter can't fully thrive when they're competing for light and water with everything else. That's what's happening in your inner world right now, a quiet pruning, a clearing of space. Why Capricorn may feel more sensitive. Capricorn is often associated with strength, responsibility, discipline, and control. People come to you because you're the one who holds things together. You're the one who doesn't panic. You're the one who shows up, even when nobody knows what you're carrying underneath that steadiness. But steadiness has a cost. And when lunar energy becomes stronger, as it is now, emotions that you've been managing quietly for a long time can start to rise beneath the surface, whether you intended to let them or not. You may remember an old conversation, one that ended without real resolution. You may think about someone from your past, not necessarily with longing, but with a kind of unfinished curiosity, like your mind is trying to close a loop it never got to close. You may question a decision you made months ago, turning it over again and again, wondering if you chose correctly, or wondering what would have happened if you'd chosen differently. Instead of immediately pushing those feelings away, which is often your instinct, I want to gently ask you to listen to them instead, not obsess over them, not spiral into them, just listen, because they may be showing you something important, what needs to be released. Emotional awareness is not weakness, Capricorn, no matter what old programming tells you. You were likely taught, somewhere along the way, that feelings are inconvenient, that they slow things down, that the strong thing to do is to keep moving no matter what's happening inside. But sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stop, sit with what you feel, and admit, even just to yourself, this no longer feels right for me. That sentence alone can be the beginning of enormous change, not because you say it out loud to anyone else, but because once you admit it internally, you can no longer fully pretend otherwise. And that quiet honesty is often the first domino in a much bigger transformation. Something hidden is becoming clear. One of the strongest themes around this period is revelation. Something you couldn't understand before may suddenly make sense. A person's behaviour, something that confused you, something that hurt you, something you replayed in your mind trying to decode, may finally reveal its meaning. A delay that frustrated you may show you exactly why it happened and why the timing actually protected you. A closed door that once felt like rejection may begin to look, in hindsight, like protection. Capricorn, you don't always receive answers immediately. You're not a sign that gets instant clarity handed to you. You are a sign that earns understanding slowly, through experience, through time, through the patient accumulation of evidence. That can be frustrating when you're in the middle of not knowing. But it also means that when clarity finally arrives for you, it tends to be solid, reliable, something you can actually build on. Sometimes the universe gives you distance first, clarity second, and understanding last. Distance to create space from the situation, clarity to see it without the emotional fog clouding your vision, and understanding, real settled understanding, only once you've had both. August 16th can represent that middle stage, the moment when distance has already done its work and clarity is beginning to arrive. This is the moment when you begin connecting the dots, when scattered pieces of a situation, a relationship, or a decision suddenly start to form a coherent picture. You might find yourself thinking, almost out of nowhere, "Oh, that's what that was about," or "That's why they acted that way," or even, "That's why I felt so unsettled, even when nothing seemed obviously wrong." Trust that clarity when it comes. It didn't arrive randomly, it arrived because you were finally ready to receive it. The end of chasing. There is a powerful difference between pursuing something because it matters to you and chasing something because you're afraid of losing it. Capricorn, this lunar energy invites you to recognize that difference clearly, maybe for the first time in a while. If you have been chasing someone's attention, replying instantly, initiating conversations that never get reciprocated with the same effort, shaping your mood around whether they respond, you may suddenly become tired of doing it. If you've been waiting for someone's approval before you allow yourself to feel confident in a decision, you may find that waiting starting to feel unbearable. If you've been trying to force an outcome, a relationship, a job offer, a reconciliation, through sheer effort and willpower, you may feel your grip on that effort finally start to loosen. And that exhaustion, uncomfortable as it may feel in the moment, can become a genuine turning point. You begin realizing something important. What is truly meant to remain in your life should not require you to abandon your peace just to keep it. Read that again, Capricorn, because it matters. Anything, any person, any opportunity, any relationship that only stays in your life because you're constantly performing, proving, or pursuing is not something you're keeping. It's something you're renting with your own exhaustion. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop trying in the things that genuinely deserve effort. It means you stop confusing struggle with value. Sometimes the things worth having require effort, Yes, but they don't require you to disappear into the effort. There's a difference between watering a plant and drowning it, trying desperately to force it to grow faster than its nature allows. If you've felt tired lately, not just physically tired, but tired in your spirit, this may be exactly why. And that tiredness may be the universe's way of finally letting you rest your hands and step back from something you were never meant to carry alone. A relationship may enter a new phase. For some Capricorns, this shift may appear most clearly through relationships. Someone may communicate more openly than they have in a long time. A conversation you didn't expect, honesty that catches you off guard, a vulnerability that surprises you because it's coming from someone who usually keeps their guard up too. Someone may reveal feelings they previously kept hidden, whether out of fear, timing, or their own uncertainty. Or, and this is important too, you may finally understand with a kind of calm clarity rather than heartbreak that a connection has completed its purpose. Don't assume every ending is negative, Capricorn. I know that's hard for you because you value loyalty and permanence more than most signs in the zodiac. But not every relationship is meant to last forever in the same form. Some relationships teach you what you deserve. They show you through contrast what real respect and consistency actually feel like. Some relationships teach you what you will never accept again. They show you your limits, your boundaries, the things you now know you won't tolerate a second time. And some relationships arrive at exactly the right moment to remind you that love should not constantly feel like uncertainty. If you've spent time in a connection where you were always guessing how someone felt, guessing whether they'd follow through, guessing whether today would be a good day or a confusing one, that pattern may finally be reaching its natural conclusion. Not necessarily through a dramatic ending, but through your own growing unwillingness to keep guessing. The moon's growing light symbolically encourages emotional honesty, both with others and, more importantly, with yourself. Ask yourself plainly, does this relationship, in its current form, give me peace? If the honest answer is no, that answer itself may be part of what's shifting right now. Career and money energy. This shift can also touch your ambitions, Capricorn, and this is territory you know well, because career and long-term security are often where you feel most at home. Capricorn energy naturally thinks in terms of long-term security, career growth, and financial stability. You're the sign that plans 10 years ahead while everyone else is still figuring out next week. That's a genuine strength. But August 16th asks a deeper, more uncomfortable question. Are you building the life you actually want, or simply maintaining the life you have become accustomed to? There's a real difference between the two. Maintaining a life means keeping the machine running, showing up, doing the tasks, meeting the obligations, without necessarily asking whether the machine is taking you somewhere you actually want to go. Building a life means something more intentional. It means occasionally stepping back and asking whether your current direction still matches your evolving values. You may feel an unexpected desire to change direction, to pivot towards something that feels more aligned, even if it feels less safe on paper. You may feel a pull to learn something new, to develop a skill you've been curious about but never made time for. You may feel drawn toward pursuing an opportunity that seems to have appeared almost out of nowhere. Or you may feel a growing reluctance to keep investing energy into something, a job, a project, a plan, that no longer has real potential, no matter how much time you've already put into it. Don't rush into impulsive decisions, Capricorn. That's not your nature anyway, and it wouldn't serve you here. Instead, observe. Pay attention to what keeps returning to your mind during quiet moments. In the shower, on a walk, right before you fall asleep. Repeated thoughts are rarely random. They can reveal priorities that you have been ignoring, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, because they felt inconvenient or impractical at the time. Your ambition hasn't disappeared. It may simply be redirecting itself towards something more honest. The message behind the moon. The moon does not create your emotions, Capricorn. It gives you a symbolic mirror through which you can notice them more clearly than usual. And the message for you right now is simple, even if it isn't always easy to hear. Stop ignoring what your inner world has been trying to tell you. If something feels heavy every single time you think about it, a person, a decision, an obligation, investigate why. Don't just note the heaviness and move on out of habit. Sit with it for a moment and ask what, specifically, makes it feel that way. If something gives you peace, a quiet Sunday morning, a particular friendship, a certain kind of work, notice that too with just as much attention. We're often quick to analyse what troubles us and slow to examine what actually feels good, as though peace doesn't need explaining. It does. Peace is information too. Your intuition often speaks quietly before your logic catches up, Capricorn. You are a mind ruled by structure sign. You like evidence, plans, and proof before you commit to a feeling. But intuition doesn't operate on your timeline. It whispers early, long before the facts arrive, to confirm what it already sensed. August 16th is not about predicting one dramatic cinematic event that changes everything overnight. Real life rarely works that way, and I won't pretend otherwise just to make this sound more exciting. Instead, this date is about recognizing a growing internal shift, one that has likely been building for weeks, and understanding how that shift can influence the choices you make next in the days and weeks that follow. You are outgrowing an old version of yourself, Capricorn. You may be entering a stage where your old identity no longer fits quite the way it used to, like a coat you've outgrown but kept wearing out of familiarity. The version of you that tolerated everything, that stayed quiet to keep the peace even when something felt wrong, may be disappearing. The version of you that constantly explained yourself, that over-justified your choices to people who were never going to understand them anyway, may be disappearing. The version of you that believed you had to work harder than everyone else just to be considered worthy of good things, that version too may be quietly fading. And that can feel uncomfortable, Capricorn, because growth often feels like uncertainty before it feels like freedom. There's a strange in-between stage where the old identity has loosened its grip, but the new one hasn't fully solidified yet. It can feel disorienting, even a little lonely, like standing in a doorway between two rooms. But hear this clearly. You are not becoming colder. You are becoming clearer. There's a real difference. Coldness withdraws out of fear or resentment. Clarity withdraws out of understanding. You're not shutting people out. You're simply learning where your energy actually belongs and redirecting it there with more intention than before. A quiet decision could change everything. Sometimes the biggest shifts in life begin with a decision nobody else sees. You decide to stop checking your phone every few minutes for a reply that isn't coming. You decide to stop responding immediately to every message, reclaiming a little space for yourself. You decide to protect your mornings, even just 15 quiet minutes before the noise of the day begins. You decide to apply for something you've been talking yourself out of for months. You decide to forgive yourself for a mistake you've been carrying far longer than it deserved. You decide to stop returning to the same emotional cycle with the same person, the same excuse, the same disappointment. These choices may look small from the outside, Capricorn, invisible even. Nobody throws a celebration when you quietly decide to change a habit or release an old pattern. But they change your trajectory in ways that compound over time, the same way a small change in direction, held consistently, eventually leads a ship to a completely different destination than the one it started toward. Capricorn understands long-term consequences better than most signs in the zodiac. You already know on some level that one small decision, repeated consistently, can completely transform your future. You've likely proven this to yourself before, in your career, in your discipline, in the way you built stability from nothing. Trust that same principle here, in your emotional life, not just your professional one. Do not force the timing. If something has not happened yet, Capricorn, don't assume it never will. But don't spend your entire life waiting either. Both extremes can trap you. There is a real difference between patience and suspension. Patience means continuing to live fully, working, growing, connecting, enjoying your days, while allowing timing to unfold naturally in the background. Suspension means putting your actual life on hold, pressing pause on your own joy and momentum until someone or something gives you permission to move forward. August 16th encourages you to choose patience without abandoning progress. Keep moving, keep building, keep becoming stronger, more grounded, more yourself. Let life meet you while you're already moving toward your future, rather than standing still, waiting for it to come find you exactly where you are. The emotional release. You may also experience a powerful need to release something emotionally around this time. Maybe it's resentment towards someone who never apologized. Maybe it's disappointment in a situation that didn't unfold the way you hoped. Maybe it's an old expectation you placed on yourself or on someone else, one that quietly shaped your behavior for far too long. Maybe it's the belief that someone owes you an explanation before you're allowed to move forward. Here's something worth remembering, Capricorn. Sometimes closure does not arrive through another person's words. You may never get the explanation you feel you deserve. The apology may never come. Sometimes closure happens instead when you finally stop needing those words in order to feel at peace. You can honor what happened. The hurt was real. The disappointment was valid, without allowing it to control what happens next. Holding both of those things at once, honoring the past while releasing its grip on your future, is one of the quiet strengths of your sign. What Capricorn should watch for? In the days around August 16th, pay close attention to repeated themes. Notice conversations that unexpectedly become important, even ones that seemed casual at first. Notice opportunities that appear more than once, almost as if they're trying to get your attention. Notice where your energy increases and where it quietly disappears. Notice the people who make you feel peaceful rather than constantly uncertain. And notice, just as much, the ones who don't. Notice what your mind keeps returning to when everything around you becomes quiet. These small observations, gathered patiently over the coming days, can help you understand the direction your life is naturally moving toward. The shift may begin. Quietly. Don't expect every major transformation to arrive with fireworks, Capricorn. Sometimes a life-changing shift begins with a quiet realization, alone, in an ordinary moment. You wake up one morning and simply realize you don't want the old life anymore. You realize you're ready for something different, even if you can't fully describe what that different looks like yet. You realize that a fear you've carried for years no longer has the same grip on you. That is a powerful moment, even though it may look like nothing at all from the outside. And Capricorn, if you experience that feeling around this time, don't dismiss it as random or unimportant. It may be the beginning of a much larger transformation than you realize. Your next chapter requires a different you. You cannot enter a new chapter while constantly trying to recreate the old one, Capricorn. Your next chapter may require stronger boundaries than you've held before. It may require more courage, the kind that speaks up, applies, leaves, or begins, even without a guarantee of the outcome. It may require you to trust yourself instead of waiting for everyone else to agree with your choices before you allow yourself to make them. The person you are becoming may make different choices than the person you used to be. That is okay. That is, in fact, the entire point of growth. Growth changes your standards. Growth changes your priorities. Growth changes what you are willing to tolerate. And there is nothing wrong with outgrowing what used to feel acceptable. The Capricorn turning point. This is the deeper message of August 16th, Capricorn. Something is shifting because you are shifting. The moon may symbolize the rising awareness, but your choices, the small, quiet, unseen ones, create the actual transformation. You are becoming more conscious of what drains you, what inspires you, what genuinely matters to you, and what no longer deserves a place in your energy. And here's the part worth remembering. Your next chapter will not be built only from everything you keep. It will also be built from everything you finally have the courage to release. Final message for Capricorn. So, Capricorn, if life feels unusually quiet right now, don't mistake silence for stagnation. Something can be developing beneath the surface, even when nothing visible seems to be happening yet. A new idea can be forming. A relationship can be changing, in ways too subtle to name just yet. A decision can be becoming clearer with every passing day. Your confidence can be returning, slowly, the way strength returns after rest. Your priorities can be reorganizing themselves in the background without your conscious effort. The moon is building power. And symbolically, so is your awareness. You may not have the entire picture yet, and that's okay. You only need enough clarity to take the next step, just the next one, not the whole staircase. Before you leave, take a moment and ask yourself one question. What am I finally ready to stop carrying? Don't rush the answer. Sit with it. Let it surface in its own time, because sometimes the biggest shift begins the moment you stop carrying what was never meant to follow you into your future. If you're a Capricorn and this message connected with you, comment, "I am ready" below. Let that be your declaration that you are ready for the next chapter. And if you want more Capricorn astrology, cosmic energy updates, and powerful spiritual messages, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your next chapter may already be beginning, and you don't want to miss the signs.